squad was this strong naturally. All right, and I'm going to go into some of the things he was doing. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to watch some video. But what he was doing was flat out amazing. All right, and that's what people would consider it, but it's not really amazing. He was just tapping into the DEA just a little bit. Just a little bit. He tapped into 10% of the DEA. All right? He just tapped into 10% of it, and they was scared of that. All right, let's keep reading, though. All right, so currently, he still holds the WDFPF world records. We talking 25 years later. He still hold these records, y'all. Well, 05, 15. 20, shit, what you talking? 25, man. 26 years later, he still holds the world records in the squat, deadlift, and total raw pounds ever lift. He is credited for the biggest raw squat and raw powerlifting total ever performed by a drug-tested athlete. Pay attention. Mark Henry. He is credited for the biggest raw squat and raw powerlifting total ever performed by a drug-tested athlete, regardless of weight class, as well as the greatest raw deadlift by an American citizen, period. Mark Henry. Majority of your athletes that lift weights, even today, they all use drugs. These Olympians, they be using drugs. Okay? We talking about since 1996 in the Atlanta Olympics, which was when they forced him. Look, he debuted it in 1996 at the Atlanta in the Atlanta Olympics. And the Olympic Games was in Atlanta. Even though they wasn't held in March, this was his debut of that same year. Okay? He was so dominant with raw strength, they made that man retire the same year after the Atlanta Olympics. Hey, man, you do me a favor. I need you to put the iPad on the charger for it dies at 6%. I think the charger is in the thing. I don't want to move the camera. Thank you. All right, so I want y'all to focus in on that now. So this is where the world's strongest man come from. This title that he got. Because nobody, thank you, babe. Nobody to this day, we got peanut butter crackers left? You hand me one, please. Nobody to this day has done it. We talking almost 30 years later. He still holds the records in squat and deadlift and total pounds ever lifted. And he is still credited for the biggest raw squat and raw powerlifting total ever performed by a drug-tested athlete. Not to mention today, they don't even test the athletes like that lift this weight like they used to, because they don't. They want to stay entertaining. And most of today's athletes are straight weaklings who are using steroids. Period. Facts. So they don't even test them no more like that in Olympic weightlifting like they used to. Yeah. He did all of this by the age of 25. By 19, he was viewed as the world's strongest man. By 25, in 1996, they made him retire. Because God had tapped into his DEA, right? And they came to him. They started running tests on Mark Henry. And they were trying to figure out how was he this strong naturally, right? They had never seen nothing like this before in their life. You know, most Olympic weightlifters, even Arnold Schwarzenegger and them niggas. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger and them was juicing up in the 70s. So, despite all the fluoride they put in the water and all the things they do to keep our DEA down so that we don't have this, because we all naturally possess superhuman speed, superhuman strength. Like, we are so much stronger and faster and so much more intelligent than you could ever even know. But it's all in your DEA. Okay? This is what the fight is against. The fight has always been against your DEA to keep it locked. Do you know that if your DEA was 100% unlocked, you basically would be doing everything you see the superheroes on TV doing and more, times 1,000 though. All right. So they came to him at the tender age of 19, and they was trying to get him to start juicing up, using steroids, and they wanted him to, dilute his raw strength, and he didn't want to do it. Also, why did they force him to retire so quick? Because he was so rawly outspoken against people cheating. He also spoke out against Michael Jordan, who was the NBA darling. We gonna show all this. All right, you talking about somebody that if they was to highlight what this man really did, man, he broke science. Like right now, scientists are still baffled. They cannot understand how because he represents us still, he has DEA in him, neuromelanin, how we are able to do these things that we do. And, oh yeah, they made Mark Henry pay for it. They made him retire by the tender age of 20. 19, 20, 21, he was retired. By 26, it was over with. They forced him. Now check it out. Before he retired, though, in weightlifting, he was a 3-time U.S. national weightlifting champion. Dominating it, y'all. An American Open winner. A 2-time U.S. Olympic Festival champion. And look when he did. Look at the years he was doing all this, y'all. 92, 93, 94, 96. After 96, it was over with. They forced him into wrestling. Listen. He holds all 3 senior U.S. American weightlifting records from 93 through 97, y'all. Come on, man. To this day, y'all, it's 2000. We in 2021. It's almost 30 years later. All right. And in 2002, he won the first annual Arnold Strongman Classic. All right. They forced him to join WWE. Check it out. Since joining the World Wrestling Federation, now WWE, in 96. So listen, the same year that he went into the Olympics, in 1996, and crushed all them records, they made his ass join wrestling that same year, y'all. This is what I want y'all to see. All right. They threatened this man's family. They threatened him. They did him dirty to force him up out of them Olympics, to force him out of weightlifting professionally. They ran tests on him against his will. All right. What they did for him was they told him, we'll make it up to you. We'll make you famous. You can go to WWE. We'll make you a Hall of Famer. We'll make you famous. In 2018, they inducted him into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2018. Slaves and intelligent slaves, they will cut the penis off. All right, because they will want to kill off the genetics. All right, but let's look at Mark Henry family a little bit, so you can see that this guy like DEA that he was able to tap into, it didn't just start with him. It runs in his family. They've been tapping into it. Check it out. Mark Henry was born in the small town of Silsbee in East Texas, 90 miles northeast of Houston. As a child, he was a big wrestling fan, and Andre the Giant was his favorite wrestler. While attending a wrestling show in Beaumont, Texas, young Mark Henry tried to touch Andre as he was walking down the aisle. That's all bullshit. Let's jump right here, because this is the little mock-up story for you to believe that he always wanted to be a wrestler. Bullshit. He was into lifting weights. Check him out. Mark Henry comes from a family in which almost all of the men are larger than average, especially his great uncle, Chud, who was 6'7" and weighed approximately 500 pounds and never had a pair of manufactured shoes and was known as the strongest man in Piney Woods of East Texas. All right, this was Mark Henry uncle. All right. Now let's go into powerlifting. This is him right here pushing the tank. This is exactly how strong he was and still is. Where he tapped into this DEA, where he is strong enough to push whole tanks. Now, the funny thing is, they showed this a lot on WWE, and we all thought it was fake, not knowing that he really possessed this type of strength because we didn't know about his Olympic background. We didn't know about how he tapped into that DEA because they hid that. They hid all this shit. All these records that he got, Strongman Classic, World Powerlifting, USAPL National Powerlifting Champion, 95, 97. Look, he did all this. Look at the years, though, y'all. From between the ages of 19 and 25. This young guy did all this, man. They hide this from you. We didn't know none of this shit when we watched him in wrestling like that. You get what I'm saying? So when he was doing the shit on wrestling, certain things they showed him doing, we thought it was fake and part of the show. And that's how they wanted it to look. Hiding the legend of our DEA. Check it out. Let's read more about him. By the time Mark Henry was in the 4th grade, he was 5 foot 5 inches and weighed 225 pounds. All right, you talk about a natural Incredible Hulks, real life Incredible Hulk, Samsons. All right, we got all these amongst us, but they try to hide this type of shit. All right, and people, how when they put him in wrestling, that what he doing? He working for them, right? Working for the master, working for the elite. They rather put them in their circus, they rather have him be in their circus where they can control that strength than have him be, let's say, a revolutionary and was using that strength to fight against them. Y'all with me? Stay focused. By the time Mark Henry was in the 4th grade, he was 5 foot 5 and weighed 225 pounds. All right. Remember, we naturally was in giant form anyway. So some bloodlines still have this they have this in their DA where they tap into it a little more. All right, but let's keep going. His mother bought him a set of weights when he was 10 years old. Now look at this shit, y'all. During Mark Henry's freshman year in high school, he was already able to squat 600 pounds. Nigga, it's grown. Nigga, I ain't never squatted 600 pounds, and I go to the gym. And it's grown. You know how many grown guys been lifting weights all their life, and they'll never squat 600 pounds. He was doing that shit as a freshman in high school. You do not understand that he doesn't have natural strength. This is God DEA, man. This isn't natural. You don't see this shit every day. How many freshmen you know right now? Freshman, grown man. It don't matter. Go get them. That's going to squat. You can go get niggas in the NFL right now, in the NFL. College athletes. You go get Olympians right now that can't squat 600 pounds. He was doing that as a freshman. All right? And as an 18-year-old high school senior, he was already called He was already called by the age of 18. This young guy was called the world's strongest teenager by the LA Times. Okay? This is when they first started coming at Mark Henry at 18, trying to get him to convert. He wouldn't. All right. By 25, though, they was able to get a hold of him and break him down and get him to come on over in the wrestling. But they didn't even want him to go into the Olympics. They didn't want him lifting weights. They didn't want that to get out. You had all these, Europeans and big white boys that was looked at as the strongest man. Wasn't no gods. They didn't want that out there. You get what I'm saying? Arnold Schwarzenegger and them was like the face of that type of stuff. So to have an 18-year-old black kid from Houston doing this type of shit, like what? Hold on, what? What's going on here? You with me? Let's keep going. Henry was called the world's strongest teenager by